X-Files goes international when an old girlfriend asks for help. A serial killer is burning people alive, but there's no evidence of how. Join us as we discover Mulder's fear of fire, which becomes integral to the rest of the series.
This is not happening. This is not happening.
Hello and welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast.
Barely get to press charges.
It's open.
What?
It's unlocked.
That's weird. I'm sure I locked it.
Must be an X-File. What's that?
I told you I locked the door.
What do you think it is?
10 to 1 you can't dance to it.
Greetings, Agent Mulder. 6 months ago, British Minister of Parliament Reggie Ellicott received an audio cassette, much like the one you're listening to now. Unfortunately for Minister Ellicott, when he popped the tape into the car stereo, he armed a device, which when he tried to exit the car, created an explosion which was heard 5 miles away. The Scotland Yard forensic team could only identify the poor bastard by his dental records. If only he hadn't reached for the door handle and triggered the detonator. But then how was he to know he was sitting on enough plastic explosive to lift the car 40 feet in the air and deposit the engine block on top of a 3-story building?
Aren't we looking rather ghostly?
Good evening and welcome to the show. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are covering fire.
Top of the evening to you, Mike. I promised you I'd do the accent, and I promise that I'll make it as painful as possible to all the real Irish people out there.
Well, so this is an episode. What did you think of it? Personally, for me, it's not a bad episode. It's not a great episode. It sits right on that line. And what did you think?
I'm trying to find the right fire analogy, the right fire pun. Is it a dumpster fire? Is it a hot mess?
I like hot mess.
A hot mess is good, yeah.
Okay.
I will say I liked the production design of the fire because in 1993 there was no CGI. It was all live. So I think it's important to say that Mr. David Gauthier, the person in charge of the fire, did a very, very good job.
There are some great shots of fire in this episode.
But otherwise it's terrible. I thought it was not, it had no redeeming qualities that last. Certainly they tried a couple of things on that didn't really work.
So the episode opens and we are in Bosham, England. A man, an elderly gentleman, leaving his house, saying goodbye to his wife. His caretaker is in the garden here.
Well, multiple caretakers, lots of the garden staff.
Oh yeah, a lot of people here. And we get a sense right away who the bad guy is. He says, morning to Cecil, and that is none other than Mark Shepard, a wonderful actor in a lot of sci-fi, like Battlestar Galactica remake, and plenty of other shows. He does such a fantastic job. We get a sense real quick that he's our bad guy.
Well, he looks goatee.
Yes. He looks menacingly at the older gentleman who's leaving, and suddenly he bursts into flames and burns to death in front of everyone in the front yard. Credits. Dun-dun-dun.
Well, if we didn't know that Cecil was bad before, with the goatee, surely we know he's bad when we have the shot of him through the flames. I mean, he's literally the devil.
He is smiling while this man is burning to death.
And not jumping up to smother him with his jacket, like all the other good folk.
Yeah, he's just letting everyone else take the responsibility.
Well, truly he is an evil person because he's also gardening in a pretty nice jacket. And what appears to be by hand. Like, do the Irish not have any gardening tools? I must ask you.
Maybe they ran out of money. They didn't have money for a little shovel.
Well, I am led to understand that they spent 5 days on the shooting of this episode, and then at the very end, they had to tack on a day to shoot this opening sequence. So they did it very, very quick, and probably didn't have any budget for, a shovel.
You're right. So after the opening credits, we come back. Mulder and Scully are in a parking garage. They had just had a hearing of some sort.
Oh, they're coming back from court. They're delivering their testimony or something. They have all sorts of files in their hands.
Indeed. They get in the car, which Mulder thought he locked, and they see a tape on the dashboard. This is an old form of media that no one would remember, unless you're over the age of 30, likely. They pop it into the dash, and sure enough, there is a woman who starts rattling off this tale about a man who also popped in a tape that was in his car, which triggered a device. And as he tried to exit the car, he blew up. So it's basically describing their current situation, and they're getting a little fearful looking around. Suddenly, character everyone loves opens the door suddenly, and they freak out.
It's a pretty good prank, as pranks go, must say.
It's a good prank.
But Mulder must be extremely ignorant to romance, because he doesn't recognize Phoebe's voice.
He doesn't understand that it's her. So they're both a little scared, Scully and Mulder. They're confused about the situation, and then she opens the door, which gives them both a fright. Yeah, Scully's not impressed at all. Especially when she gets out of the car to find Phoebe Green planting one on Mulder.
Well, in England, that's how they do it, yeah.
What do you think of her grand entrance here?
Well, they've clearly set her up to be a rival to Scully. And I don't think it's horrible at this point. It's a very interesting introduction to the character. But I can't say that I believed her. I have to ask, do you think she's actually British? Or is she putting on the British accent?
She is 100% legit.
Well, you've got a very fine view of the British accent, because I think they're from all over there, you know.
It's not great.
She's not designed for us to like her, because she's played this horrible prank on the two of them. It's not the kindest way to enter, not like, the fellow from Ghost in the Machine who comes in and buys them lunch. That's a nicer introduction.
Let me buy you a sandwich from the vending
Let me buy your
machine.
love with a sandwich from this cart here.
But anyway, she is actually a pal from Oxford who Mulder used to date. As we learn as the episode goes on, they were quite intimate. She's got herself a case that she can't quite crack. And she wants Mulder's help because that case has now, in her eyes, likely traveled to the United States. So, it is a three-pipe problem.
Yes, they drop a lot of the Sherlock Holmes hints through the episode. I guess they didn't quite have enough, romantic and flame puns to drop around. So they thought they'd add a third line to it.
Yeah. So we cut to Mulder in Scully's office, and Phoebe's describing the case. There's an arsonist who is terrorizing the aristocracy. He likes to burn his victims, and there's zero evidence left behind. They don't know any incendiary device used. They're having a real tough time pinpointing who it could be, but this person is writing love letters to the victims' wives.
Yes. It was an interesting setup, but it doesn't really ring quite true for me.
No, and it's kind of left up in the wind there. They just throw out that he's some sexual deviant, and he really doesn't do anything like that, but he does get some sort of perverse pleasure of fire. So I guess that works.
I think that's pretty clear, yes.
The current victim is Sir Malcolm Marsden. He has already narrowly escaped one of these situations. Somehow he escaped the fire, and now they're vacationing in Cape Cod until this whole thing gets sorted out. But again, Phoebe thinks that they are in the States, and the killer has followed them. Mulder offers to run it by the arson specialist, but he doesn't quite agree to the case completely.
It is an interesting case, and they've built up a nice little bit of exposition to make it interesting, and certainly to make it interesting to Mulder. I will give them that. Mm-hmm. But on the whole, I'm not sure that he would take it on were it not for Miss Phoebe Green being there. Because, she does bring that certain little spark to his life.
And as Phoebe exits the office, she says bye to Mulder in her way. And then this whole scene, she hasn't said one word to Scully. and as she's leaving, she's, oh, goodbye. Like she forgot she was there. I'm like, you bitch.
Which says everything you need to know about her, doesn't it?
Yeah, and she's being really, really petty already. And kind of feeding into that mentality that it's two girls fighting for Mulder's attention. But it seems a little out of place to me because she doesn't know Scully, and I don't know. I would hope a real person wouldn't act like this, but I'm sure they do. Well, here we get a little bit more background.
3-pipe problem?
That's from Sherlock Holmes. It's a private joke.
How private?
We knew each other in school in England. She was brilliant, and I got in over my head and paid the price.
Mulder, you just keep unfolding like a flower.
That was over 10 years ago, Scully.
Yeah, I noticed how you couldn't drop everything fast enough in order to help her out.
Oh, I was merely extending her a professional courtesy.
Oh, is that what you were extending?
Look, I'm going to run this by the arson guys, and then she's on her own.
Something tells me you're not going to get rid of her that easily.
Short, it's simple, and it's showing their friendship kind of developing in a different way. I think it's pretty good. So now we're on to the arson specialist.
Mr. Beatty.
He loves his job. Yes, that is a good.
If you want to talk about Oscar-winning performances, I think you need to talk about his, because he loves this fire, something fierce. Have you thought about getting into arson investigation?
Yeah, apparently it's fantastic. This guy's AAA all the way. But he is the first one that mentions spontaneous combustion. They go over how there's no accelerant or chemical being used, and he puts forth the idea that in one case they could have been using maybe rocket fuel that burns so hot that it eliminates the evidence. But he's really offering zero help by the end of this scene. He doesn't really add much other than some interesting banter between him and Phoebe.
Well, I do like at the very end of the scene, he looks to Mulder and says, "It looks like you got a hell of a case on your hands, Mulder. I wish I was in your shoes," which I don't think he's talking about the case at all. I think he's talking about Phoebe Green.
Yeah. Well, no, I think he's talking about the fire because he's very sexually aroused by this fire.
Are you kidding me, Mike? Did you not look at his eyes when he's looking at Phoebe Green? I mean, he sees the two of them together lighting their own fires, if you know what I mean.
So we go to Cape Cod. The young gardener from the beginning is painting the house. The Marsdens arrive with their youngins. He lights a cigarette without lighting it. I actually like that shot.
I'm a big fan of the self-lighting cigarette. There is some interesting backstory for the production notes on this one. They apparently only made 3, and Mark Shepard wanted to see it tested to know how it worked, to interact with it, and the production staff were very cagey about using it. They didn't want to waste it. So eventually he wore them down, and they said, all right, well, we'll do it. And apparently it blew up in their face. They used some magnesium and it exploded. So they were a little bit embarrassed. And they redesigned it for him. And then I gather it worked just fine. But imagine if he had used it and it blew up in his face. That would not have been good.
So that's where their mini shovel budget went.
Indeed. No shovels, but 3 self-lighting cigarettes. Yes, he apparently has a copper wire going down his face, obscured by the cigarette. And that's how it is used to ignite it. But you did mention, I don't know if you mentioned that when he's painting, you do see a close-up of the paint can that says argotipolene. And subtext says aviation rocket propulsion Calas 3 liquid. So this is indeed the rocket fuel that he's using to accelerate the fire. Apparently it has no smell, this completely fictitious substance. When you Google it, apparently it does not come up.
Oh.
So, I know, X-Files always throwing one over on us.
Mark Shepard is in the house painting, and he introduces himself as the caretaker. Thank you, Bob.
He seems like a lovely chap, doesn't he?
It's a weird scene when the Marsdens kind of stop off to admire the painting of the woman. Oh, that rather looks like you, don't you think?
I have questions about that painting. I really don't understand what it's doing there. Did Bob the caretaker paint it in advance of their arrival? Or is it just
I'm trying to understand this scene. Are they just trying to paint these two as like inept people and they're just stupid and they're not aware of their surroundings? Is that what's happening? They're just, oh, look, a pretty painting.
I have no idea this man is so devilishly handsome and evil. I can't see that at all through this painting. We were meant to feel a little bit unease around it, and that Bob has changed his appearance, or Cecil is now Bob, the harmless Bob.
So Cecil, Bob, goes outside, and he sees the kids playing, and then he sees the Marsden's dog digging at something. Uh-oh. He goes over and doesn't remove the dog. He kicks the dog.
Oh, he's clearly an evil man if he's kicking
But the
little
dog's
dogs.
digging, and we find out that it is a body of the actual caretaker. Dun, dun, dun. We see his hand.
I think it's fair to say that we find out it's Buddy. And then there's this line that I think was added after the fact, because we don't see him utter it. But we hear him say, "I'm the caretaker now."
Yeah.
And I thought, would it have been better if we didn't hear that? That we were just given a little bit of credit that he has now filled the role. He's taken over. But did we really need to know that? I feel like there's a little bit of that. And it's not the first time, or I should say, it's not the last time that we'll have this little dialogue added after the fact to maybe fill in some blanks so the audience doesn't get a wee
From
bit
here, we
confused.
move to Mulder and Scully's office. He tries to spare Scully the case, the bother of having to deal with it, because he understands right away that Phoebe's playing a game. And this is where we get, hold on to your butts, everyone. Mulder has a deathly fear of fire.
Well, I've always known. We've seen it through previous episodes. It's evident if you look at it.
You
frame by
see
frame.
this trait pop up throughout the rest of the show, actually.
It does come back at very inconvenient times for him.
Yeah.
Like when he's trapped in that train car later on and they toss in a torch to blow him alive. His father, no less. It's got to really run a number on him. He's traumatized for life.
In all seriousness, it has zero impact on the show. And this is the one and only time we hear about it, because it's super convenient to the plot.
Well,
it's trying to make the episode a little bit more interesting, and it's not doing a very good job.
I almost wonder if it would have been a bit more interesting if they didn't invent this backstory and just had a moment where he's confronted by this supernatural fire and hairs out, as he calls it. He just completely fails.
I mean, it's believable.
Just this failing. Yeah.
It is an overwhelming force. You're upstairs in a burning building and the smoke could be getting to you. It's not hard to believe that he would just fail at least once,
Absolutely. I think this is the beginning of a trend of, could we recut these episodes to make them make sense and perhaps better by just removing some of the dross?
We go back to the Marsden residence. It's at night, and Mrs. Marsden is making some tea. And this is where we get the creepy scene of Mark Sheppard peering in the window, just eyeing her up. And I think the cameraman is enjoying his job today, because he's doing the eyes for Sheppard. And he's keying in on all the goods
Lady
here.
Marsden wears the dress like a fine lass. I don't think there's anything wrong with a cameraman appreciating his job.
I know he's supposed to be Mark Sheppard's eyes, but still, it's funny. That is one 90s dress too, by the way.
It is a very 90s dress. I think it's fair to say that they're trying to make out Cecil being a creep in a variety of different ways. We're not intended to like Cecil at all. Or Bob, as he's now known in America.
No.
But I don't know I specifically buy it. I wish, if we're going to be watching over the villain's shoulder for the entire episode, I'd love me a drop of exposition that gives me a little bit of rationale for it. A little bit of an explanation as to why he is the way he is. Mm-hmm. They don't give you any of that, other than he's a nasty man who doesn't like the English
And
aristocracy.
who would have thought the sexual predator angle to this character would be the least threatening?
Oh, indeed.
Again, like we said earlier, it's just a tidbit of information that they never really come back to and don't go into much. It's a little unnecessary.
Well, that and the fact that he probably has missed about 24 chances to burn up Lord Marsden at this point. He's waiting for the right opportunity.
He's like
apparently.
a Bond villain. He's waiting. He wants to show off. He's waiting for the perfect moment. And when he has you, he's too busy gloating.
He's got his monologue to give.
He gets interrupted from peeping. The driver introduces himself to him, and Bob gives him a smoke and offers him to pick up some cough meds because he sees that the driver is suffering a cough. And smoking, it's a good idea.
Apparently smoking's very good for a cough, though.
Yeah.
I've seen some ads in the 50s that say certain cigarettes are very good for a cough.
The man offers to pay, but he turns him down. So we cut to a bar, and there is a blonde near him while he's sitting at the bar, and she moves closer to him because she thinks he's cute.
This is egalitarian alcoholism. Everybody can be, an alcoholic if they put their mind to it.
She clumsily gets his attention and shows interest in him. He asks to light her cigarette and promptly gives her the finger lighter. A neat trick. She is so impressed that she turns to tell her friends, and when she turns back, his entire arm is engulfed in flames. Everyone's rightfully spooked, and he lights the bar on fire while he's laughing maniacally. It's an interesting scene.
No, I've got questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, shoot.
I made it this far without any questions, but now I've got some questions. And the first one I have is why on earth? Why on earth does he do this? Why? I understand he's a bad guy, but randomly burning down a bar in Cape Cod, I don't understand.
And I'm going to try and give the
Thank
episode
you. I appreciate your elucidation here.
He seems like the kind of character that they want to be obsessed with power. And this is his way to show off. He exerts power over all his victims by putting them in a helpless situation, by setting them on fire. I don't know. But he is a bit of a show-off with everyone, with the kids, with her.
Well, my theory, and I did come up with one myself, is that perhaps Cecil's making some side money by doing arsons for hire. That he came there with a purpose, because we have it in the scene earlier with arson specialist Beatty, that he mentions there have been some fires, mysterious fires set in Pennsylvania and Seattle, if I remember correctly, that the insurance people were going mad over, that they couldn't figure out the cause. And I thought that perhaps what they were trying to do was have a little bit of a breadcrumb for us to say that he's in the country and moving towards Cape Cod, that this was him. But I didn't know why that he was doing these particular fires, and I thought perhaps maybe he's making some money as a very mysterious kind of arsonist.
Could be. I never even thought of that.
Well, that's why I'm here, Michael, just to give you some extra things to think about.
I'm glad to have you here, Irish Andrew.
Excellent. And that's why I've adopted this ridiculous accent to help you.
It's very welcome, and it's going well.
But yes, he does burn down the entire bar for no particular reason other than she remarks on his accent, I think. She does confuse him with being English, which perhaps is the thing that sets him off.
Yes.
Maybe she could have said, "Are you a lord?
Are you a lord?
Do I remind you of an English lady? Should you burn me down too? Am I your old flame? I can go all night if you wish."
So, coming back from that scene, we are at Mercy Hospital in Boston. Mulder is briefing Phoebe about the bar fire. They visit the lady who was hitting on Bob. Somehow, and this was one of my small questions, somehow she got injured. I don't see why she wouldn't run immediately.
I think it's completely unrelated. I think it's perhaps she got her hands were run over by the ambulance.
Because she dove into the street for no reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
She crushed the glasses that she was holding in her hands. Yes, I agree. It's a little bit suspect.
She gives them some info, but she's wary because she was really being unfaithful to her boyfriend. Hitting on someone else at a bar.
She was meant to be at school, I think. And she gave a story that she was at school, but in fact she was at a bar. And if it was revealed that she was at a bar, she would have been revealed as a liar to her boyfriend. She has a whole comprehensive backstory.
They gave her a lot to work with.
Listen, the rule is don't trust the Irish. That is the rule.
Dang. Harsh. Moving on. Mulder assures her they will be discreet, but they give her some time to think about it. And outside of the room, Phoebe gives Mulder crap about sidestepping her actions. But Mulder takes this opportunity to throw it back in Phoebe's face because he learned the ability of sidestepping from her indiscretions. Burn.
Oh,
literally.
That's a topical pun you just dropped there. That's very good. Very good.
Yes.
But shall we say that sparks flew between them?
Sparks were flying between her and Mulder. And this is where we get kind of a ridiculous story of them having done it on top of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's grave.
Well, there's an image for you, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a little ludicrous, but whatever.
Now, I must ask, is this the first time that we learned that Mulder has a photographic memory? Because he does drop that particular note.
Yeah, it's the first time he's mentioned it. I didn't find this as egregious as the whole fear of fire thing.
Does it come back? Does it feature in other episodes that he's got a photographic memory?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't strike me as one of those things that is so necessary to be explained in future episodes. Like, a lot of people think maybe they have a good memory. Maybe he's just saying it because he remembers it vividly. I don't know that it's necessarily that he 100% has a photographic memory.
Well, he does throw it in her face. I'm cursed with photographic memory, meaning
that would be traumatic.
Is also very strange that he does not remember her voice. He doesn't have a audiographic memory. He has a photographic memory. Yes. All right. I
see your point. I see your point.
I see it. Yes.
I never put too much weight on it.
I do like that they do sort of explore the idea that he's become a better investigator and getting statements out of people that are reluctant to participate. I think that is the crux of this scene, that she does essentially compliment him that his technique has improved, that is something he's learned, and he is able to use this power to get the lady in the hospital to work with the sketch artist, to cooperate with them. So I think that is, to Mulder's credit, that he does actually do something in this scene. Not that just he's an observer and this is just about their relationship. I do like it.
He is a very good investigator. And he displays that well. He eventually gets her to commit to doing a sketch.
And she does learn an additional detail. She mentions that our pyromaniac has an English accent.
She misidentifies voices and accents very well.
Very well.
So her composite should be very useful.
I wish that the composite looked like Mulder. That would have been great.
So back at the Marsden home, the driver is really sick. It's obvious that Bob has poisoned his cough syrup.
Well, it's obvious because Bob says it. Again, he says it off camera. He says, must be the cough syrup. Or maybe there's something in the medicine, or I don't know. It's like it's not enough that the camera pans over to the cough medicine and looks at it very suspiciously, as cameras do.
A double dose of this is what happened.
It's just
it's not only insulting, the scene is useless because it's okay. A, we could have put it together if they had just omitted it, and B, the scene is like 10 seconds long, so just get rid of it. What's the point?
Well, I'll have questions about the death of the driver later, but at this point...
Puking over the toilet but burst into flames? Yeah. That is one bad day.
We shall save my questions until we find the fate of the driver later on. But for the time being, I am willing to accept that the poor man arrived with a cough, and villainous Cecil saw that this was an opportunity to exploit the weakness and dispatch the man, making him quite the villain, a multifaceted villain, much like my accent.
Scully is working late. She's reviewing the photos, and we're getting a monologue, and she's catching anyone who hasn't been paying attention up.
After reviewing the files of the Scotland Yard arson murders, 2 points remain unexplained. One is the use of an untraceable accelerant. The other involves the victims. Since they all burned in the presence of family members in safe surroundings, this indicates unusually intimate access to the victims by the arsonist. The arsonist is most likely a male, less than 25 years of age. He will often act out of impulse, satisfying sexual urges or insecurities with destructive behavior, which compensates for his social inadequacies or maladjustment.
Which makes me beg the question, why on earth isn't it Mulder doing the profile? Isn't this his thing?
Because he's flirting with his ex.
Right, he's got his hands full, don't you know? Oh, wink, wink, nudge,
I
nudge.
wish he would just understand the show. All right?
We
already know he's
good. This is
the
second time that Scully does a profile that turns out to be excellent, mind you. So she's clearly good at the job, and I think she should take the title. But I do question the profile a bit, because I wonder where she gets all this excellent intelligence, and she creates this profile that exactly identifies Bob, Cecil, whatever you call him. She's good, but on what basis?
Crack profiler.
She's pulling it out of the air, really. I don't understand.
Well, you know.
It's because she's good and she's got a 90s computer. She's able to do it all.
A lot of arsonists are like Bob. They like to paint and be menacing at bars.
And kick dogs and
kick scruffy little curs.
I believe in the production notes it does say that they've taken some of the footage from this scene from Squeeze, because apparently there are some crime scene photos that don't match. They had to reuse a bit from a previous episode to make this scene work. But I looked at it and I didn't say it, so I'm thinking perhaps the notes are wrong.
I don't think I've noticed that too. After her monologue and profile, we cut to the Marsden property. Bob is painting a swing because he's helpful like that, and the two young boys are playing in the yard, and he starts asking them if they want to see a magic trick. We get a sense that he's going to be a bad person here, and then it cuts back to the arsonist. Scully's visiting him, and she asks about the accelerant. She wonders if it was maybe mixed with some hand cream or something that could inconspicuously get on the victims. And it cuts back to him, Bob, lighting cigarettes and offering the young boys some. Uh-oh. This is an after-school special.
Indeed. I think it's worth noting that Bob is painting the swing set with the rocket fuel. He's got the same cans. So I think that would have made a nice, very image of the swing set going up in flames, perhaps with the children on them.
Whee!
Holy shit, I'm on fire! I'm swinging so fast.
The episode right there. They should have done that.
Would have been good.
Made this guy a real bastard.
Well, he's done a lot of bad things so far. I think this is just a very small point. Although he's about to push cigarettes on children. So that's probably the worst crime of the episode. Kids don't do drugs. 3 cigarettes, and he offers the boys one. Why don't you hold one for me? What an asshole! just come on. Mrs. Marsden calls them away before Michael takes one, and she also asks him to drive them to a party later, and he gladly accepts. As they walk away, he figuratively puts out one of his cigarettes on her ass. I can see it in his eyes. That's just the look he had in his eyes. It's fair. I think it's also worth noting that he did do that very impressive pull a cigarette out of my ear trick. And I guess
he did do that. It was okay.
It's a single take. You could see the cigarette, honestly. But I think the real trick that we're meant to take away is that the cigarette's lit when it comes out of his ear.
Yeah, that's a little weird. And I think it would hurt.
Well, he's got a gift, don't you know? He could have gone into vaudeville, but instead he decided to be an arsonist for hire.
Yeah.
He's still for hire in my universe. It's the only way it makes sense. He's gonna get a serious bank for killing Lord Marsden. We get some more profiling from Scully after this scene where she asks him for a ride. The arsonist is subject to obsessive fantasies over people he cannot have. He's clever and intricately plans his moves. It's fine, whatever. I mean, based on what? I'll take it just because it's Scully and I could watch her read the phone book. But I don't understand where she comes up with this marvelous profile. I don't know. It sounds good, though. I mean, that's probably one of the better parts of the episode. It's just listening to her read a monologue. Interestingly, I didn't find it objectionable on my first watch. It was on the second watch where I started to go, but wait a second, where does she actually come up with this? And it so perfectly suits him. Like, maybe they could have misdirected us a little bit by saying, some other details that didn't match up with our man Cecil. But it's just too perfect, and it doesn't seem to come from anything. And she concludes that it is a matter of if and not when he will strike. So, it is a ticking time bomb right now, ladies and gentlemen. We cut to the street. Mulder and Phoebe are talking about the case, and they decide that setting up a trap for the serial killer is probably the best bet, so they're going to do so at the party tonight. And she makes a point to tell him that she will be at the hotel for the night. She'll be taking a room. It's a room with a very big canopy bed, like a princess would sleep under. Yeah. He gets a call from Scully. She's coming up with some info about the arson's identity. And Mulder feels a little uncomfortable.
because I don't think he wants her there.
Well, he's already planning his bedroom game. You know, you can see it.
Yeah, he checks in himself.
I do like his little rejoinder at the end saying, I'm anticipating having my hands full.
I know. I mean,
This is Chris Carter at
subtle.
his sexual best. You know, he's really a man's man.
So after Mulder checks in, the Marsdens pull up. It's later at night. They all get out of the car, and Bob is the driver. Uh-oh, that means something happened to sick driver man.
Well, we already knew that he was under the weather. That she'd asked.
Yes, but now it is official. He's not driving.
But he's in his element, though, isn't he? He's well dressed.
Down at the party, Mulder's admiring Phoebe. He looks a little bit uncomfortable in the scene. He's nervous. It's obvious he still has something for her. He still cares for her in some capacity. And she asks him to dash.
Could we say that he's carrying a torch for her? Can I just throw that one in? Because I don't think we've had our requisite number of puns for this episode.
I was trying to sidestep that
Excellent,
one.
excellent.
Okay. On cue, Scully walks in, and of course she sees them dancing.
This is just garbage. This is really why on earth do we need to have this scene here? I just barf a little bit to see it.
Yeah, and the whole thing's weird because she turns away and she sees Bob in the shadows smiling at her. It's like, what is happening here? He's got this look on his face like, ee.
Choose what you want to be, episode. Do you want to be a romantic comedy or do you want to be a horror show? Don't do both. It's very strange.
So while Mulder and Phoebe are dancing, Scully sees an alarm that there's a fire on the 14th floor.
Oh, and I know the problem you have, and I'm glad you jumped to it because I was about to jump to it as well.
Why does the happenstance FBI agent have to be the one who calls the alarm? I don't know.
I think that it's a very subtle hotel. They don't like to alarm the guests.
They don't want the guests to be scared.
Subtle, nuanced order. And eventually, very quietly, the fire truck will pull out with very, very small canisters.
They usually send the maitre d' up there. And he first he checks it out. And then when he determines that there is a fire, you hear, "We got a fire. We got a fire." And he knocks on everyone's room one by one, hopefully making it to everyone on time.
Sorry to bother you, but I just wanted to let you know that there is a fire in
We have a
roommate
wee
12.
bit of a fire.
Yes, I'm aware you're in roommate 13 and it's a wee bit hot and smoky right now. But if you'll just bear with us, we'll be dealing with the problem presently. In fact, that was not my problem. That was not, in fact, the problem that I had in this particular moment. So, in my outrageous accent, I'll just point out that Bob is there and looking at Scully in a very demonic little way. And then she learns back to look at dancing Green and Mulder. And then she looks back and he's gone. And in the very next moment, the fire alarm is tripped. Do we remember which floor the children are on?
It's supposed to be the 14th
floor. So in addition to Bob's powers of pyrokinesis, I think he also can teleport.
Well, okay.
Okay, save it for me, Michael.
I'm going to save it. I think he already set the fire before he showed himself to Scully. Because, the fire would have to get going to set off an alarm, right?
So it's the world. In addition to being a very silent alarm, it is a very slow alarm because he's able to come down 14 floors and leer at Scully for a few moments.
He took the elevator.
Oh, okay. There are very fast elevators in this hotel.
I'm just trying to make the episode enjoyable.
I do appreciate that you were trying to save it for me, Mike. I do appreciate that very much.
You're probably correct. He probably did it after he showed himself to Scully.
I feel like he whipped up those stairs, but then he waits for a very long time before going in to save those children. So I'm tempted to believe you that he did set it and he came down and it just took a little while for it to smolder and then burn, much like the love that Mulder and Green share. But it takes a long time for it to happen, and then it's the shitty alarm. So there's just a lot that's wrong with this scene.
So when the alarm trips and Scully has to alert everyone, Mulder dashes up the stairs. He hesitates at the stairwell because we all know it has been established that he has a tremendous fear of fire.
The number of episodes we deal with this point is very large.
Yeah, this comes back. The camera focuses on him kind of slowly making his way down the hall. And eventually he just can't keep going. We see that fear take over and he gets rescued by a fire crew, but not before he sees a set of feet pass him in the hall, before the fire crew gets there. when he's down in the lobby, the fire crew has gotten him out. And Bob is being thanked in the lobby by everyone for having gotten the kids out. So he's playing the role of the hero. Even Phoebe thanks him. Oh, this guy's slimy.
Was this established in Scully's profile of Cecil, that he would possibly create a scenario where he'd be thanked as a hero? I can't recall. It wouldn't surprise me if it was, but thank you, episode, for giving us a little something out of the box.
I don't think so, Irish Andrew.
Canonically called Irish Andrew from now on.
Irish Andrew.
I do have a problem with the scene where Mulder is overwhelmed by his fear of fire, this mysterious gout of fire that blasts horizontally out of the room. It's his
from the middle.
It's very strange, and I do understand that in the moment it's probably quite difficult from a production standpoint to make a convincing fire in a hotel and not burn the place down. But they do have plenty of effects later on in the episode that could have been useful here. I don't understand why it's so strange.
Yeah, I mean, it does look weird. I mean, just watching it now, it's very, it seems out of place. You'd think it would be at the roof.
Whatever that fire is, I guarantee you that whoever's in that room is toast. That fire is very strange, but that's a horizontal campfire is what it is.
Yeah, the kids are okay unscathed.
Yes.
It's just inconsistent and sloppy.
But the amount of thanking that they give Cecil is borderline psychotic. They're patting that boy's shoulders. They're shaking his hands. Like, I understand that you did a good thing, but you're not president, you know.
Yeah, it's a little over the top. But from here, we cut to Mulder in bed coughing with a cute little cut. And his ego is bruised.
What happened to you up there?
I panicked. Couldn't move, Scully.
It could have happened to anyone.
Yeah, but it happened to me. I haired out. Plain and simple.
What do you know about this guy that saved the kids? The driver?
I checked him out prior to the Marston's arrival. He's worked on the property for 8 years. No record. His references checked out. They were lucky he was here tonight.
Who was watching the kids tonight?
He was.
Are you sure? I could have sworn I saw him down in the hallway about the same time that the fire broke out.
You couldn't have. Anyway, the man we're looking for is English.
Hey.
But I do like that Phoebe shuts down Scully immediately by saying, well, that can't be. And it's just the end of it from there.
Yeah, her word is sacrosanct.
So perhaps one of Cecil's superpowers is he can psychically project himself into others, and that he was indeed still up on the 14th floor. This is now making sense to me.
This is now his third ability.
Yes, he's a ghost of sort. It is the only thing that makes sense, clearly. But I do like that Phoebe does show a different side of herself when she sees Mulder in this sorry state. She apparently needs him to be strong. She wipes out his chances when he got scared of the fire.
Yeah, she's not nice.
She's not worthy of him, really. She's not.
No. We learned she's very opportunistic, and she has no real motive except self-gratification. She's all about playing.
Is she that trope of a character that has male characteristics as a woman, and therefore is unlikable?
You could say that.
And that's a very 90s thing, really. Not a very two-dimensional character.
So once Phoebe leaves, Scully briefs Mulder about what she's discovered. Police work while Mulder's pouting. She clues him in on Cecil Lively, the name that is of import. He's a documented citizen of Great Britain, but he died in 1971 in a fire. And she found 2 others with different spelling, and one of them came through the port of entry in Boston not long ago. So they think this is a lead.
It does shoot down my Seattle and Pennsylvania insurance fraud fire theories quite a bit if he came directly to Boston.
Yes.
But perhaps he came into Boston, had a little side gig off in the West Coast, came back.
I don't want to shoot down your thought out theories, Irish Andrew. I think they should be encouraged.
I do thank you for...
So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that maybe he Maybe he teleported there.
Oh my goodness, you're taking it and extending it. I like it. Yes, and perfect.
Once Mulder hears that this Cecil Lively has arrived at the port of entry in Boston, he kind of springs into action to warn the family. They realize that it's the driver.
Well,
is it, though?
It's a classic X-Files redirect. A little bait and switch that it's going to be this person, but no, in fact, it's this other person. Another classic thing where we see the villain face up for the entire episode, and we're given this backseat to his chicanery. But I'm not sure it works very well in this case. Again, this is my question that I've had in other episodes. Would this have been a different and better episode if we did not know who the villain was and did not get his perspective through most of it? If we had a bit more a cat and mouse game of investigation and then came to our conclusion later. Like this, except that we get a marvelous performance out of Mark Sheppard. I would miss that. So
yeah, that would be missed.
It's perhaps one of the few good things in this episode, and I'd hate to lose it. So
yeah. Once Mulder darts away, Scully gets effects of the woman from the bar, her description of what the man who set the bar on fire looked like. And I'll swear to God, it looks like Bob.
It's the driver.
It's actually one of the more accurate composites of all time. So I'm pretty sure they got someone to kind of fold a piece of paper over Shepherd's face and just kind of trace it.
Well, I do like that we have a call out to the fax machine, which again is cassette technology, that era. But again, when she says, "Oh my God, it's the driver," off camera. So I also think this is another little ad lib that they threw in to connect the dots for the viewer.
Oh, it's the driver.
It's like, we know who the fucking driver is. Why are you telling us this, Dolly? We knew already.
And after she makes that revelation, we cut to the Marsden residence.
It is a marvelous white to his face, I must admit. Like, we are looking at the picture and then we are looking at his face as he again looks down through the glass.
So accurate. We cut to the Marsden residence. Bob's in the house. We get a cut from the composite to his actual face, like you just mentioned. And Mulder rushes in to find Phoebe in the arms of Mr. Marsden. I'm sorry for any ladies listening, but what a horror.
This could have been completely done without. I don't understand why they needed to besmirch the name of this otherwise lovely character by having her being in the arms of, well, this idiot, really. What is this? What does this episode want to be? Because now we've got...
It's like if you didn't hate her enough...
Exactly.
By the way she's treating Scully and kind of stringing Mulder along, now you have to. And that's fine, but it's just too much, I think.
I half expect that at the end of the episode, there's a single frame of Phoebe Green being lifted out, saying that Phoebe's gone back to her planet and she died on the way there. You know, it just does not make sense to have this character in here.
And Mulder, when he walks in on it, he goes, "You whore," with a look on his face.
Lord Marsden says, "How dare you, sir? Let's go out and have a duel."
He informs her that they're looking for Cecil Lively, the driver. Dun dun dun. He's not there. Later that night, Cecil has officially gone missing, which is a question in and of itself. They're under the impression that Mulder and Scully are talking about the actual driver who was sick. And when they show the composite to them, they realize that it's the caretaker. And he happens to be with the kids. This is when they find the driver. And how they missed him, I don't know. Because he's simply in the bathroom. And he combusted, apparently, as he was heaving into the toilet.
But did he... I don't understand his death. I agree. If he had burned to death, surely you might have smelled a bit of a barbecue going on, you know?
Someone would be grabbing a bib and like,
"Ooh, somebody
while we're hanging
out from the
out,
back. What a lovely gesture.
I've got some Famous Dave sauce here."
But I don't believe that he was immolated, because again, it doesn't track. You'd have smelled it. So he must have died some other way.
And then he was placed there.
No, I believe he died in the bathroom. I just think he maybe was poisoned to death and then burned up somehow. I don't know.
No. It just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sure there's an X-File that explains it. You know, I don't claim to have all the answers. I rely on Michael to make sense of these things for me.
I do my best, Irish Andrew.
But okay, I must ask, what did you think then of the bait and switch of the driver, no, it's Bob, that business there? I don't know if it in fact added anything. There was no grand chase to find the driver. It was very much revealed and then unrevealed within 2 minutes. So I don't know what it really added.
Nothing. I mean, let's be fair. It doesn't really add anything because it wasn't a revelation to us. The idea is that in the 2 minutes that, oh my God, Cecil's in the country and he's close to the Marsdens, and them pursuing the wrong bad guy for 10 seconds doesn't really add anything to the story because all they're doing is rushing, or all Scully's doing is rushing to tell them, no, it's not this guy you were chasing for 10 seconds, it's this other guy. So,
to which they say already we know, you know, it's not like they actually learned anything from it.
Yeah.
We'd have about a 15 to 20 minute episode if we cut a lot of the stuff they didn't need to have. All right, well, let's limp to the end there, shall we?
Let's limp to the end. When Mulder finds the driver, the original driver, in the bathroom dead over the toilet.
Wait, do we need to give him a name just to appreciate his role?
Scorchy.
Scorchy McScorchface?
Scorchy Mick, I see what you did there.
Yes, indeed.
He suddenly gets called to a burning room and he tries to put out the fire on the wall.
And Mulder apparently is the one that has to deal with this fire, but surely with his debilitating fear of fire, shouldn't he be brought to his knees by this candy-ass little wall fire? But Lord Marsden apparently doesn't know how to deal with fire. None of the Marsden clan do.
Oh, dear Lord.
Say it with me, Mike. Join me on the accent side of the street.
I like how... Oh, man. This episode just keeps getting worse.
Well, it does. I don't know why. Why did he start attacking it with a sheet?
That's what I was like. What are you? I've got that in my notes. Why is he attacking this with a towel or a sheet?
It's like you wouldn't get a glass of water from the bathroom and douse it.
I mean, it's a better plan, I guess, but probably wouldn't do anything.
I believe they know that it would have started a super scientific fire, the kind that splits water from the atoms.
Splits atoms.
Exactly. Whatever Beatty said earlier.
He just dumps the water on it and you see a nuclear explosion from a distance.
It would have been a better ending to this episode, I will say. But at least he does not hair out in this case. He confronts his fire dead square. My problem was with the Marsdens, who are very easily convinced to leave the house where the children are about to burn alive. You go outside, I'll go find the children. I, the man who failed you last time, when confronted with a mini gout of fire, am going to go up and save the children. But I'm better now. I really am.
I think Mr. Marsden is crossing his fingers like, oh man, I can get a clean slate here.
I like that interpretation very much. I believe it because he is a craven man to be in a relationship with Phoebe Green.
And I will say that, isn't it convenient that when Mulder decides to go back upstairs, she's like, are you sure you'll be okay? Fuck you, Phoebe.
I would trust Phoebe Green to go up and save those children more than I'd trust Mulder to go and do it.
Yeah.
But he is the man, so I suppose he gets the honor.
Mulder rushes up the stairs. He's trying to find the boys. He finds them in a locked room. And who shows up at the end of the hall but Bob?
Wait, I have one more thing. I'm sorry. Has the fire gone out in the rest of the house? Or is this just a very large house?
Apparently. It's a very slow fire right now.
Because they were...
Because he's taking his time.
They were in the midst of an inferno not 2 minutes ago. And now he's walking around. It's quiet. It's very subtle and nuanced. It's a little cat and mouse thing. He's got his gun out like he's going to encounter the villain at any moment.
At all.
And there's no fire, nothing. No smoke. He's in his right state of mind. So I think it's just a very large house. I think that's what it is. Or
it definitely is a large house,
the
yes.
fifth superpower of Cecil is to deactivate the fire immediately as well. That must be it. All right, Michael, I'm sorry. You may now continue.
I don't even know. I'm going to have a bitch editing this today.
Don't cut a thing. It's all gold. All right.
Oh,
you were telling us how he'd gotten to the door. And
he gets to the door again.
For the third time.
For the third time, Mulder arrives at the door. It is locked, surprisingly. The kids are trapped And Bob shows up at the end of the hallway, snaps his fingers, and lights the hallway on fire in a cool little scene. I do like the way they did
It
it.
was the best of the episode, yes.
And we get those cool shots of fire that we were talking about earlier, especially those deep fires. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but
The waves.
yeah, the rolling flames, obviously a different scene because it doesn't look anything like the other shots, but
it is the best use of stock footage they've got in the whole episode. Yes.
yeah, it was good though. I liked it.
Very compelling. Again, David Gautier, I believe, is to be commended for his excellent work. They apparently Fox had a bit of a problem with this because it was going to be quite so complicated to put together.
Fox has a problem with everything.
They do indeed. Apparently, Lady Marsden. They cut the scene of Lady Marsden disrobing and going into her bath, which is very un-Fox-like.
Bob takes this opportunity. Mulder's distracted upstairs. He's dealing with his fear of fire because the hallway exploded in front of him. So he's hesitating for the moment, and Bob takes this opportunity to go downstairs and have a face-to-face with Scully. And she pulls her gun on him. Cecil, when he's on the staircase, he's telling Scully, "You're not going to fire because you don't know if the spark from that ran."
Oh, is he Australian then? I didn't quite make that out.
I can cut that too.
But
yeah, he kind of psychs her out not to pull the trigger because she doesn't know that firing off the round isn't going to blow the house up.
Which is a fair point. He's a very smart.
It's a fair point.
Supervillain.
And as he's playing his little game on Scully, around the corner comes Phoebe with a glass of accelerant. She was just having a drink, and she douses him with it, and he kind of stumbles off screen. Back off, Scully, it's accelerant.
Is this yet another example of an ad-lib that they add on to make it clear for the audience what she's done?
Yeah, pretty much.
As
because
I don't believe we see her lips moving.
Not only is that a problem, but the stumbling scene of Mark Sheppard is his weakest performance in the episode yet.
To be fair to Mr. Sheppard, that is not in fact him. Oh wait, no, you're right. I was going to say that it is the stuntman later who stumbles around while he's on fire. That is not Mark Sheppard. You cannot be blind for that.
I'm talking about like the slow circles.
Fair.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a boner of a performance right there, yes.
We cut back to Mulder. He's in the hallway and he's putting on his big boy panties. And he's eking his way down. He's eking his way down the hallway.
Did you just say big boy panties?
I did. And he elbows his way into the locked room. He elbows his way in. And then we cut to Mark Sheppard's great get this off my face performance in the front yard. Mulder stumbles out with the young boys. So they're safe. Everyone's safe. The house is on fire. And Bobby Boy takes this opportunity to completely engulf in flames in front of everyone. And this is his weird power thing again. He's yelling at them, "You can't kill me. You can't fight fire with fire," as he's burning alive. I don't understand why. Why is he yelling these things?
I think what you mean to say, Mike, is why do we have this scene at all?
It's just like a weird ending. They wanted it to be cool because it was the 90s, but
I think they very much wanted him to say you can't fight fire with fire because
I was waiting for Metallica to kick in.
They wanted to have a little bit of fire pun of their own. They didn't want us to have all the fun. But
yeah,
it's a trash ending, followed by a couple of trash denouements. But
yeah,
really, I've already imagined what the better ending would have been in this moment.
The better ending would be him falling dead in the front yard and then a piano crushing his body, falling from the sky. Just,
it is an option.
And then it just cuts to credits.
All right. I think a better ending, he's going to burn the children. He looks at them and he's going to be a very bad man and burn them alive. But in fact, Scully shoots him through the head and he dies on the lawn. That's it. I believe you Yanks call that American justice, don't you?
I think the last time he opens his mouth, she just shoots his jaw off. Oh!
I would go with that ending rather than this, but Very well, he's going to burn and... Listen, it provided some gainful employment to JJ the stuntman, who burns around. That is apparently his name. I checked the note, and he apparently it's quite a story. He's burning up in that suit for 23 seconds and has no air supply. So he held his breath and acted his little heart out for 23 seconds.
Yeah, fuck that.
I'm sure he was compensated quite a bit for his time.
So the first denouement
Thank you. Yes.
is in Mulder's office. Mulder and Scully's office, excuse me. Scully enters with a fake accent and she kind of startles Mulder. She's playing a little joke on him. Apparently, Phoebe has left Mulder yet another cassette tape, but he has not yet listened to it, and he decides not to. He's moving on.
I do like his little comeback joke with 10 to 1 you can't dance to it. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's a comeback joke.
They do like to do this in their writing. They like to do a full circle kind of thing. I believe they'll actually do that in the next episode as well.
From there, we cut to the hospital / wherever the fuck they're holding Bob. The place they held Magneto in X2.
I wish they did not have this scene. This scene is terrible. Honestly,
what are you talking about? It's great.
It is a fucking dumpster fire of a scene. Why on earth did they add this on? They could have ended it right with 10 to 1 you can't dance with it. Faded credits. Chris Carter is the executive producer. I'd have loved it.
It would have made the episode better, but that wasn't what they were going for, right? So they wanted to go super cheese, and we get a voiceover from Scully as we are in the hospital, and a nurse is checking in on Bob's charred remains. He's in some sort of chamber.
Is it what you call a hyperbaric chamber, where you get nothing but oxygen or something?
And she asks him if she can get him anything, and oh boy, I'm dying for a cigarette.
Oh, that's just quite witty, though. I think it does redeem the entire episode. I very much appreciate that they added that mark of comedy.
It is the equivalent of the bad guy in an explosion and opening his eyes right before the credits in a movie. That's, oh, he's dead. No, he's not.
It is, they like it in other episodes like Ghost in the Machine, where the computer comes back to life and we know it's going to take about 6 more people before it's done. I think the greater sin in this particular scene is Scully's exposition about the villain. That he apparently is going to get better in about a month, that he's got some super ability to hail from fire, that what is his internal temperature, 800 degrees or something?
He's Wolverine.
Yes, it's the...
Or smoldering.
He does in fact smolder for the camera a little bit. I just wish, why did they need to give us some exposition about this villain that clearly did not need to be? It's the equivalent of all these little bits and pieces we have marked through the show where they have to have the little one-liner that makes it clearer for the audience.
I think they wanted to be cute and give him a little bit more life. You can't polish a turd, but they try.
Do you think they're leaving the door open to bring him back in a future episode?
I wonder, because they definitely wanted to bring Phoebe back. But that was a bad idea once they got the ratings.
Apparently it was quite the popular episode, though. 6.8 on the Nelson scale.
That's not very good, though.
Well,
I mean, you're talking double digits for
fair.
A lot of the real ups.
Well,
but
it is fair. Certainly the response to Phoebe was not popular.
Irish Andrew, you have had quite a lot to say about this episode. I wonder if you could regale us with your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Are we at that time? Is that time where I'll almost have to drop Irish accent Andrew for the time being?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Final thoughts are that it's not a bad episode, but it's not great either. Certainly they tried on a lot of stuff that will never return, for the better, I might add. Given Mulder a romantic backstory, a fear of fire that do not pan out well and will never return again, and not to be missed in the slightest. Could this have been a better episode in the hands of better writers? Perhaps, but we'll never know. So what would you cut?
We get the intro to the episode, and that's it.
And then we cut to Cecil burning alive on a lawn somewhere.
Yeah, I bet a fan could write a better episode if they just got the opening and ending scene. That should be a challenge for our listeners. take the opening and ending to this episode and fill in the blanks.
Ooh, they could have done something very avant-garde and gone backwards. And then gone to the intro, and then it could have been a much more interesting thing. And then you just see Lord Charles, the flames just disappear, and he goes into the loving embrace of his wife. It's just a happier story. A lot of people get unburned. Mike, what were your final thoughts?
There's not a whole lot more to say. I mean, the episode's fine. It's enjoyable to watch because it's cheesy. It's not the worst by any means, but it's a stinker. I think Chris Carter was trying to give some things to Mulder that just weren't wanted by the fans. I don't particularly have this aversion to Phoebe that I hear a lot of people talk about. I don't care for her, but I don't think it was the worst idea on the planet to maybe give him an old flame, maybe. But
you've been waiting a long time.
It just didn't get executed well. The whole episode was just full of inconsistencies and important things that we'll never know or see again, like his fear of fire, which we've made plenty of fun of. It's just an episode. It's fine.
What did you think of their decision to give Mulder a possible booty call in the midst of an entrapment scenario for the villain? I thought that might have been a bit much. Do you think that law enforcement in the States is like this all the time? That they're having relations in the midst of an investigation?
Yeah, actually.
So it's true to life then, in your opinion, in the 90s?
I would say yes.
Fair.
This probably has happened. It happens. Multiples. If that is all we have, I would like to thank everyone for being here tonight and listening. And if you'd like to say goodbye, please do so.
Well, I'd like to offer an Irish blessing from my people.
Oh, Danny boy.
No, nothing quite so trope as that. This is simple.
The pipes.
Simply just, may the blessed sunshine shine upon you and warm your heart until it glows like a great peat fire.
Nice.
See what I did there? Wasn't it good?
There you go.
You'll miss Irish Andrew when he's gone.
Can we, Irish Andrew, it has been a pleasure. Can I extend the offer to come back at some point?
Well, only in an Irish-themed episode, though. When we deal with a pot of gold with a leprechaun.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming. It's that time, everyone, the Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/magusmediaproductions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/magusmedia, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.